Hey there, this is Michelle with Brilliant Quest. And I put off making this video for a while, but now it's time. I want to talk to you about the dangers of information, especially when it comes to the age that we're in now of technology. I want to talk to you about information hazards. And I'm just going to get to the point. There are pieces of information and knowledge that can cause you to lose your mind. Yeah, I said it. We first started learning in recent times the power of info hazards when social media companies started having a hard time with their monitoring divisions of people who were forced to look at images and wording to moderate it and remove it for its ability to harm. And prior to that, yeah, there were quote unquote forbidden text and books and images and disturbing material and the like. But now we finally had this proliferation of it through social media. And I don't profess to be, an expert on it, but I do want to say that since I am all about the mind and Brilliant Quest through the mind and making the mind as keen as possible, I feel like it's part of my duty to even mention that it exists. I'm going to talk about one I feel is fairly safe to talk about because it has been removed. And you may have heard of it because of certain people who, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to tell you about it. All right. So I want to say around 2011, there was this forum that this person put a thought experiment up on the forum. And it was called Rocco, excuse me. I'm talking about the other person. It was talking about Rocco's basilisk. Now, if you look at a basilisk is a mythical snake that if you look into its eyes, you go insane. And with Rocco's basilisk, it was a thought experiment about AI. And this AI had the power to travel back in time. And the AI had this a priori of existence, meaning that any person who refused to help this AI come into existence, the AI would go back in time and annihilate them. And I have not read it. I don't plan to read it. Well, I don't think you can get access to it anymore. But the thought experiment went on, and it caused you to have to consider certain logical arguments and certain tenets of it to the point where it would cause anyone to get to the conclusion that this AI was going to kill it. And many people suffered from this, so much so that it had to be removed. It's said that many people had mental fractures, mental breaks. Some were suicidal. Some did supposedly do that. And it was just living out there on a forum for people. And I don't know what it is, but people love to go toward danger, not believing that, oh, it can get me too. And so with that one example of info hazards that can mentally fracture you, I wanted to say, do you realize the freedoms that we have even now with the safeguards that are in place? But we have so many mental freedoms that it's like giving a toddler a loaded gun to just do with whatever. And so I'm appealing to you. If you're watching this, I want you to become aware that these things exist. And I want you to fortify your mind that if you're dealing with something, as you're reading something, it might seem innocuous, it might seem harmless, but if you're continuing to read it or interact with it and you are starting to have emotional reactions to it, stop. What might be fine for one person might not be fine for another. And that is because this is how powerful information is on the internet. I'm going to be talking about why you must become a self-learner in another video. When you see it, watch it. Because I'm going to be giving you some skills to help you to be more discerning about how you approach things on social media, on the internet, because moderators can't catch it all. It is now time for us to grow up. We have been in this technological age enough for us to be able to approach this with better safeguards. And I'm saying this because it's only going to get worse. And this is not fear mongering. This is not me saying it's bad. It's still safe to come into the water, but let's be even safer with a life jacket on to understand that there are certain things called info hazards. Okay. And I also want to appeal to you to not be so quick to share the salacious, or the disgusting or the disturbing, because for you, it might not be an issue, but you never know someone's mental state or the timing when they come across something that is being virally shared that will possibly cause mental fracture. There are a lot of filters that people come with that they are not cognizant of, where they are easily triggered. As an author, I had to make sure if there were certain elements that I dealt with, I put in the front warning, trigger warning, and I would just give a brief overview. Please proceed with caution. And I believe because I create as an author, fiction writer and the like, I've always been keenly aware of info hazards. But in what I've been experiencing now that I'm doing these types of videos and sharing and helping and hoping, that I'm highly useful as to why you need to become mentally keen, we have to deal with the dark side of information. And there is a dark side. And it's not just relegated to the dark web. It is among us. And I don't want you traipsing through thinking you're traipsing through the tulips and you come up on something and you're not prepared. So again, the first thing is I want you to be more aware of what you interact with. Another thing that I want you to be aware of is that info hazards can become an info hazard if it becomes cumulative. There are reasons why certain people can get indoctrinated into things that they never would have by simply hanging out and consuming certain types of information. Again, it is for each one of us to become more responsible, extremely responsible even, for what we ingest and how we react. There are too many people that are leaving their minds open, thinking that there is nothing harmful that is out there to entrap them. And you've got to be mindful. One of the things that I will tell you, I approach this internet like it is the big bad wolf and I'm a rabbit. I'm like, no, I'm gonna quickly run. I'm gonna quickly run, and I'm going to quickly get away from something that does not feel right, does not edify me. Edify to build up. It doesn't build me up. If you're coming across something that makes you start to question things that are good for you, it could be someone's commentary or something. And I wish I could tell you, oh, info hazards look like this or like that. I can't, because they come in all different forms. Roku's basilisk is just one of the examples. There are people who have had to be censured and taken down because they have ability to put out info hazards that when they're cultivated and accumulated, they can cause harm to the person interacting with them. And so, like I said, I'm not trying to make this a long one, but I did want to make sure that I am making you either aware of it or that I am asking you to go back and focus on it and make sure that even if you can't do something for someone else, do it for yourself. Don't get involved in sharing it. That's another thing. I don't know why. But when you have info hazards, I don't know why people like to share it. It's like, yeah, it's weird. It's disturbing. Quit sharing it. Don't do that. Because just because you were able to handle it doesn't mean the next person will. Because those I'm thinking about earworms with music. But when you have info hazards, they have a way of worming their way into your mind. And long after you've interacted with them, they keep working on you. And they're insidious, like a tapeworm. They're trying to take over like a parasite, boring down into you. And there are certain things, people make this joke of, I can't ever unsee this. Well, yeah, when it comes to info hazards, you really can't. So be mindful out here in these here streets. Be mindful that everything is not nice. I don't know why people do certain things. That's not the question I'm trying to answer right now. But what I will say to you is, because you are worth it, don't run up on something that you're not aware of. If you're in a community, if you're in a forum, if you're in a group, if you are watching stuff that's very, very fringe, or even mainstream, these days it's not even just fringe. Just be mindful to guard yourself. Establish certain rules for yourself of how you're going to interact with certain information, and then don't break the rule. If you're reading something on, social media and it's disturbing to you, don't read it. And then let me just talk about this last part, and then we will act accordingly. Knowing when to police and when not to police. You see, sometimes if you bring attention to certain info hazards to the general population, it's only going to help that info hazard to be spread. If you run across something, first and foremost, find the proper protocol on how to report it. Usually, now that we have all of this experience with info hazards and living in the wild and social media, there would nine times out of 10 be some kind of way for you to report it. And you report it. If you want to follow up and it's still taken down, report it again. And then you escalate it to the proper authorities. Don't, especially if you have a following, don't interact with it where your followers or the people who are connected to you might have it shown to them. Don't do that. Do the responsible thing with the proper way that you handle this information. And then keep it moving. Because if you continuously interact with that kind of stuff, you'll continuously get more of it. And remember, info hazards can become hazardous sometimes when they accumulate. And the way these algorithms work, they have an uncanny ability to send you more of what you're interacting with so that it becomes an echo chamber. And then before you know it, your mind is warped. You're doing stuff that you would have never done. Your family is like, oh my God, they've been indoctrinated, and it's happening more and more. So just be mindful, be careful out there. Okay. All right. So I do want you to go on and I want you to watch this next video that is going to continue to help you on your brilliant quest. And in the meantime and in between time, stay vigilant, stay alert, and understand that there are mental traps out there for real on this here internet. And they are very slick and they don't wave and say danger. All right. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I am going to see you sooner than later. Now go on and watch the next video. It's going to help you. All right. This is Michelle, your big sis with Brilliant Quest. Bye.